Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Wells of Wall Street. We got the XLM Stellar update video here, something we haven't done for a while, to be honest. So guys, there's been a bit of price action, particularly with the drops that we've seen across the market with it, not just XLM but across the board. But we want to sort of reiterate XLM's position in general, its future, and a couple of sort of case points really, as to why we're invested, and some really cool attributes to what Stellar is capable of doing as a foundation and as potentially helping the world. So just a couple of pointers here, of course. The USD stablecoin USDC being arguably powered by Stellar. I think USDC is going to be a phenomenal stablecoin outlet as we move forward, with Stellar's backing, quick and efficient and low cost aspects of utilizing this kind of currency. We've done a video a while back, a long time ago actually, when we first started the channel, about energy efficiency and costs of things, versus like Swift and Visa and this, that and the other, and even comparing, of course, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are a bit older now, and of course higher gas fees for one reason or another. But Stellar was one of those kind of newer ones, if you like. I mean, I think it's been around since 2014 or so, so it's not brand new, but certainly its application is quite new in terms of the foundation aspects. But for me, I think more and more stablecoins and more cryptocurrencies utilizing chains like Stellar and other ones that we talk about quite a lot on this channel, I think there's massive benefit across the world. And you could look at things like maybe bridging of currencies or international exchange and things like this. There's a good little video actually. I'm not going to play it now, but they've got this video here. It's like an introduction about Stellar Foundation, how it's trying to contribute towards a multi-billion dollar problem across the world, where things like inflation rates are, of course, a big part of the world that we live in terms of pricing, supply, demand, all of these things. We'll go into that in a bit more in a second. But the world's in a bit of a disaster mode at the moment. Everything's becoming more and more expensive. Supply supposedly is very bad, even though it shouldn't be. And we do talk about that in terms of energy and stuff, trying to transition things to more of a controlled consensus in the near future. But here's, for example, they say here, you probably read it's very small, but cross-border payments are a vital lifeline for 1 billion people across the world. The Stellar network is built for payments. Now, we had like the MoneyGram integration quite recently, a few months back. We've had obviously the aspect of payments being utilized via USDC, and in terms of interoperability with other currencies, whether that be from a stable or fiat currency perspective or changing it into other currencies. The low fees are what's really appealing with these kind of chains, and the payment infrastructure is being used by this as well. And we touched upon it as well, because around the world, the percentage don't look that big difference in some cases, but some of them are absolutely ridiculous. And I know for sure here in the UK, prices are rising and rising. They've been doing it for decades and decades, bit by bit, making it look like they're saving us, and then reducing tax, increasing inflation, interest rates, all of this stuff. And at what point as human beings, as people, do we say enough is enough? Why are we being dictated to by all this nonsense? And we do a lot of videos around like supply chain mechanism. We've got new like e-commerce platforms using blockchain and cryptocurrency technology, supply chain mechanisms of supply and demand being automated, quicker, cheaper, more efficient to understand and analyze using AI algorithm and things like this. It's almost like I feel like shaking the world sometimes and just be like, wake up to this new technology now, open up your business to these opportunities, and you'll reap the rewards, in my opinion. I mean, look at some of these countries, absolute dire state. I don't know what Venezuela are doing, but that's crazy, even though it's an improvement on the last announcement they made, but that's mental. Of course, a lot of countries around here where we're seeing a lot of migration from, people just watch the news media, right, and they go, oh, we're fed up with this, blah, blah, blah. No one tackles the problem. No one goes, why are they trying to leave their country? Why are they trying to come over everywhere? And this isn't a political channel, obviously, but I want people to start waking up. The mainstream media just pulls out constant nonsense around the world and doesn't actually give you facts and opinions based from the country within that some people come from, put yourself in their shoes, like in some aspects of their country and the way they're not necessarily treated, or like, the financial situation. Do you honestly think that you or your family out there would not do similar? Honestly, like, people just want to shut off from the problem. They just see it as a hindrance or this, that and the other. And we got a big topic at the moment again in the UK about borders and the channel and this, that, and that. It's like, shut up. We know this is all a narrative to keep pushing things. Just, everyone, be calm and look at the problems. And one of the key problems is the financial situation of a lot of countries. And who runs these things? Well, here in the UK, we've got the Bank of England to thank for a lot of this stuff. We've got constant inflation, interest rate situations. We have all us here, general public, paying tax like we should be, when we've got a multitude of companies out there that are paying very minimal. And fair play to them for being very, very clever with it. Because I can assure you that if any of us did something like that, one, we could never have that conversation to start with in the first place. But two, we'd probably be put in prison. It's the same with printing money. It's illegal to print money, but the central banks, the reserve currencies, all these, they print it all day long. Why do you think we're in inflation? It's a constant pump into the system to raise prices, put people into poverty, and what will eventually come, I kid you not, we will have basic universal income in this country. We have a tier 2 society, and that will be a worldwide situation. I tell you now, if you don't want to listen to that, if you don't want to believe that, so be it. But go and follow the documentation, the World Economic Forum, what they're doing with the Agenda 30 programs. These are not theories. Go and download the documents. Go and check out the forums that these guys attend every year. COP26, all this absolute rubbish and garbage, just to keep us appeased as if they're doing something. They're not. It's about time the world woke up to full-on blockchain technology. Those that do or don't like Stellar for whatever reason, fine. But for me, it is an investment, and for me, it's a world changer. It's for the good. There's a multitude of projects like this out there. I'm not just picking on Stellar as an example of greatness. There are many of them out there that are going to define and change the world. Some will be centralized, some will be decentralized. Of course, that's a matter of opinion to think which way you want to go. I know which way I want to go. And that will be what it will be as time goes by. But we are in a big mess around the world financially. And we talk about like inflation rates and things like this. So the impact of inflation, I guess, relating arguably against the kind of crypto adoption, if you like. A lot of countries are always against crypto, and I'll tell you why. Is because they want everyone to continue to be in the absolutely flawed system that we've been in for the last 100 odd years that simply doesn't work. People get away with things, and all that happens is the workers have to work even harder and longer hours and this, that and the other. More people go on benefits. More people go into a system that they think, you will have nothing and be happy about it. If you like that infrastructure, go and enjoy that. Because I tell you now, in 25, 10, 20 years time, when these systems are fully integrated and you're stuck in a centralized system that is telling you what you can and cannot spend your money on, or whether you can go on holiday or not because you haven't done this and that, trust me, wake up to it. And it's the whole point of this aspect of inflation and crypto is the point I'm making about Stellar and other fantastic projects out there. They have a reason behind it. They're powering new financial systems, guys. So, the inflation rate is essentially the concept that measures the percentage change in the prices over a certain period of time. Okay, so the impacts of purchasing power of nations' currency and high inflation means a decrease in purchasing power, which leads to the rising prices that affect the cost of living, cost and finances, all these things of doing business in particular countries. And we see skyrocketing prices across the world, both in food, supply chain, supply in general. You were talking about chipsets and this, that and the other. I'm going to use a very boring example here. Xbox. Most of them are now being sold for like £600-700. Why? Because there's a supposed chipset problem. There isn't. It's absolutely nonsense. It's garbage. And it's creating that demand and supply mechanism that is essentially flawed in itself, on top of things like inflation rates. The negative impact is essentially of their respectable currencies. Like most countries out there in the world have a gigantically flawed currency system that is massively impacting their populations. And people are tearing their hair out going, what do we do? There's no money. The banks are closing. They're all putting us on smartphone banks. And we're wondering why they're closing the banks. And now we're on this app that I can't even talk to anyone anymore because they put on live chat. And all of a sudden the banks stop. What are you going to do then? What are you going to do? We need to go into blockchain as soon as possible. We need to go to Web 3.0, utilize crypto and blockchain related hotspots. So we remove ourselves from the terrible internet services that we get around the world, onto a new devised decentralized system where we as people have more power within reason, within regulations. But it's possible. Peer-to-peer electronic cash systems, which is arguably what Bitcoin was built for in the first place. Irrespective of whether you believe in Bitcoin or not, or its principles, the fact of the matter is it's one of, if not the first blockchain properly to be enhanced and adopted, and has changed the world and will continue to do so. And it's about these kind of projects that are scaring the banks. They're scaring politicians and governments that continuously send you FUD saying this is rubbish, this is a scam, this is that. Follow the money. Just follow the money. These people don't care about you. They just want you in a dire state, so you just fall back down the system. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of people. I hear stories, right? I'm in so many different groups, so I hear stories of people like in depressive mode, and it hurts me because they're like worked all their lives and they're sat there in their pension era and they're wondering why they haven't got any money. When does that stop? When do we as people start taking control of this, guys? When do we start? And the opportunity is right here. It's right here. It's just a question, does anyone have, I'm not going to use the word, but does anyone have the confidence to do this? Like, take advantage of it. It's right here. And Stellar Foundation is one of the fantastic top projects out there, in my opinion. And they're doing great things to appease the world, change the world, make it better. Whether you like it or not, that's what they're trying to do. And they're not perfect. No one is. They don't, you talk about Jed and his relation with Ripple and this, that, and the other, and what he did there, and then his amount of tokens he's got for XLM. That's no different to any other project, by the way. All CEOs or founders have a multitude of assets available to them. It's just that he had pressure, obviously, from the SEC to try and take some of these out of the market, or whatever, and that's why we had some specific dumps over the periods of time in the few months back, if you remember. But that aside, XLM Foundation is a fantastic project, and I just wanted to reiterate that. And I will mention a quick point as well before we go into the chart: the recent integration with Fireblocks. Now, I've done quite a bit of research, and in fact, I'm going to show you a jazzy presentation. So I've been doing quite a bit of research on various different platforms of recent times. So Fireblocks in particular, before I go onto their website, this is just a few sort of strengths and weaknesses, if you like, very old school SWOT analysis. But Fireblock, so 750 supported tokens, 30 exchange connections linked in with that as well. So there's loads of other ones that I've picked out in terms of wallets and stuff, but we're focusing on Fireblocks here. So DeFi lending, staking strategy opportunities. They've got tax compliance integrations, which like Crypto.com have recently sort of added into their system. So from an institutional level, this is phenomenal. And the integration with XLM and Stellar, or being able to be on this platform as a digital asset for institutional level, rings bells to me that this is where businesses are going. Experience with over 600 institutional clients already. The custody helping MPC, so the computing custody helping eliminate single points of failure. So essentially going around sort of back avenues. If things go wrong, it can switch back into other systems to continue your service, to continue your transactions. CMP link allowing up to 8 times faster transactions, and also what was interesting, multi-blockchain support. So it holds a multitude of different blockchains. When we talk about bridging and interoperability, it was extremely important for blockchain and this kind of DeFi world to work. You need to have this interoperability aspect. We know for a fact that many projects out there, including XLM, do operate their blockchains in an interoperable mode. So it's going to be interesting. We have the loan aspects, the lending aspects built in as well. And this is where I think it's going to have really good infrastructure place with the likes of XLM moving forwards. But back to the point here of this Fireblock situation, of course, Stellar launching this aspect through that with Stellar will just take it, I believe, into another level and another opportunity for people to get really involved in pushing the narrative of utilizing blockchain and cryptocurrency more, and especially with stable coins. Of course, if you don't want the volatility, USDC is a fine project powered by Stellar that I think will take us into the next revolution of finance. The power to the people will begin as soon as it can. So let's know what you think about this, guys. I'm just getting frustrated with the world. I'm getting frustrated with, we always continuously look towards our governments and stuff for answers. They're not going to have them. They don't have the answers. Go and find them yourselves, and go and find out the solutions for yourself as well, because they're there. Don't rely on your banks and stuff anymore. Like, we need to find ways of weaving into these new systems, because they're coming regardless anyway. Do you want to get them in early and take advantage, not just from an investment perspective, but from the aspect of improving your life, improving the power that you have in the world. And that aspect is really important, especially for those in countries that are struggling, or people around the world that are struggling. Watch that video that I just mentioned that Stellar put on there. Is, people struggling because their banks are closing. Don't worry, I'll send you some money through my system. There's no fees, no ridiculous international exchange fees to worry about, because we're on blockchain. Yeah, change the world, guys, and we can be a big part of that transition. Just keep pushing the narrative and the information, and we'll get there. Let's look at the price of XLM on the chart. My rant is over. Smash that like button if you like what you hear and see, and make sure you subscribe if you've not done so already. XLM, one of the slower movers, arguably, in this short period of time. But I want to reiterate, from this point, for example, 29th of September up to a more recent point here on the 9th of November, a nice 72% increase. So for those that are saying XLM doesn't move, you're incorrect. It has moved. We've had so far, as of today, floating around that 31.9 cent mark. Let's call that 32. We are in a bit of a pickle in terms of its performance indicators on the right hand side here, 9.35 down on the week. We're down slightly, very slightly, on the month and the 3 months. And year to date, we're still up. But I want people to understand there's patience required in this project. XLM is going to be an absolute powerhouse, in my opinion, for its powering, its interoperability, its bridging aspect, everything that it's going to do in the financial world to improve the world, as we just mentioned in this video. The previous all-time high up here, just under that 80 cent mark, I think directly it was, let's have a look what the actual figure was. I think it was 79.85 cents. So we've got a while to go before that, but I am absolutely loving the support mechanism that we're seeing here. So we had this big tail up in the bull run earlier this year. And if you look along the line, we're having a very, very nice trend line. It's almost like we're coming back to the real definitive price of XLM. And in particular, if we look at 22nd of July, 27th of September, and round about where we are now on the 25th of November, I'm just going to go in close so we can see that. We have had new higher lows on each move back down as well. So if we can get consolidation around this 30 cent mark, I think we could start pulling this back up to 35 quite quickly, and then taking this up to another level throughout December and into the bull run that we can probably see going on into next year. So let's see how that goes. In terms of like price positioning, there's quite a lot of sort of price predictions out there, of course, but for me personally, I was originally sort of looking around this sort of mark here. I do think around sort of 270 is quite achievable. A lot of people were saying like $5, $3. I think that's possible as well, depending on the full integrations of XLM and how things go, especially in the CBDC environment, which is going to have a lot of conversations around it next year, guys, for sure. It could be one of these projects that perhaps reflects itself away from other things like Bitcoin movements fully and stuff like that, because CBDCs especially are very much in a very big topic aspect with most governments around the world. And I think it could be one of these kind of projects that sort of goes against the usual other cycles that the rest of the market does because of adoption, the adoption period that we are potentially coming to in this space. Now, what's going to happen when CBDs become very, very mainstream and people as investors who perhaps not interested in crypto just yet or very much thinking about it are going to sit there and go, what is powering this stuff? And they'll look at the likes of Ripple, XLM, Zimfin, for example. You've got a multitude of other different ones as well for various different reasons. And they will jump in for sure. And I think that's going to be something that will probably happen next year as well, in my opinion. But we'll have to see. But what I've done here on the chart before we go into the RSI and the MACD levels that we can see on the below, just wanted to pinpoint these points. So look at that, nice healthy growth here, good corrections, good rises, good testing of areas. In particular, I quite like the fact that at the moment I've drawn this orange line here as a potential further drop down marker. Not saying it would definitely come back down to here, but I quite liked the area of resistance that we had here around the 22nd, 23rd. It's tailing around where we've seen it in July as well. And back at these sort of jumping up down resistance levels here as well as these two drop downs. So we're in a quite a significant area when we're looking at this sort of 30-cent mark that we're nearby now and just under the 30-cent mark as well. So when we were floating down here, if you remember 20 cents, and we did videos back here saying like, trust us, like not financial advice obviously, but you're getting bargains at these kind of levels here between 25 and 30 cents. We will push up. It may be gradual, but we were definitely going to push up because of what Stellar and XLM is capable of doing. So even right now, I'm always buying dips with XLM, same as I do with XPR, Cardano, and all these other ones, because the price is irrelevant to me. It could be 32 cents, it could be $1, whatever it is for XLM. I'm building for the future. Not to say for this run coming. I'm sure I will take profits along the way, of course, as normal. But I'm very much holding XLM for the long term, maybe a few years times bull run or 5-10 years, whatever. I do think it's got gigantic price opportunity in the future, especially as it gets further adopted. So this is where we are right now. This is the line that I've drawn in. In fact, I might be able to actually get rid of that because I think our red line on the macro fib retracement here is very much lining up to where we've dipped down today. So as I said, we've had to come down. We couldn't break the 30 cents, which I really like that. If we can consolidate above 30 cents, especially near 32, I think we can get some good support around here over the next couple of days, 2-3 days, and pull us out of this situation back to the 35 and beyond. Looking at that as kind of a principle of why do we think that, let's look a bit further here. So RSI was at a lower point back here on the 18th of November, floating around 38. We've had the drop down today, people calling it the Black Friday sale if you like, floating around 39.40 cents. We're still in a bearish mode, not just on the MACD, but the histogram is showing still a sell-off continuation, albeit it's gradually reducing. That's why I said we'll probably have a few days of trying to get support around this area. It could dip down under 30 very briefly and then pull back up again, but I anticipate maybe a crossover in December sometime before big sort of numbers come back in again, maybe towards the end of December and into the early next year, and see how far we can get this up. Because like I said, we're a bit far off the previous all-time high, pretty much nearly halfway, not quite yet, but certainly in about 9-10 cents time we will be. So there's plenty of room for improvement to come. Is it a good time to buy now? I always believe it is. Certainly for XLM, anything under 50 cents in my opinion is a bargain. And any kind of drops like these that we see, it's definitely worth buying the dips. Not financial advice, that is just what I'm doing personally. I believe in this project massively. I think it's going to do big things for the future. But guys, let us know what you think about XLM Stellar. The couple of the points that we mentioned today in the video, but also let us know as well what your end of year and end of bull run predictions are for XLM2. I'm going with 270. Let us know if you think that's ridiculous, or if you think it should be higher, or even indeed lower. Do you think we'll even break the dollar? Who knows? But guys, we're going to wrap that up there. I'm going to keep more of an eye on the XLM over the next few days. I will promise to do an XLM video more often. It's just so many videos to get through and so many changes across the board. But for this one in particular, I do have passion for it because I believe in what they're trying to achieve around the world to make it a better place, a fairer place, and bring power back to the people. I love that. I hope you do too. Thanks guys. We'll see you in the next XLM video. Bye bye.